And we are live. Hi, everyone, to another episode of the Substack Writers Salon. And today I have with me Dale Roberts, who I've been following for a long time on YouTube. And I was telling him I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity now. And Dale is a self publishing advocate, best selling author, and a video creator. He's YouTube self publishing with Dale Host. That's the channel that I advise everyone to follow if you're into publishing and self publishing. And he's based in Columbus, Ohio. All right, we already have people joining us. We have Crystal, Jim, and Susan. Hello, everyone. You're in for a treat because Dale is the expert. All right, Dale. First, thank you for joining me. And Dale, as I said, I've been following your YouTube videos for a while, and I learned a lot from you, and you sort of gave me hope, in sense
Oh,
that self-published authors can actually sell a lot of books if they use the right tactics. And if you agree with the statement, what are the, like, let's say, top things that self-published authors need to do to sell books and sometimes even outsell trad publishers? So the floor is yours.
I think a lot of people would assume I'm going to say, hey, take a lot of money and just pour it into Amazon ads or Facebook ads. But believe it or not, I believe that it starts at the foundation. And the
Okay.
foundation is going to be, who's the audience that you're serving? What do they want? And how do you fulfill that need?
Okay.
A lot of times there's some writers out there, they just write to scratch their creative itch. And
Okay.
they're not really thinking about an audience beyond themselves. Or
Correct.
they think everybody's going to enjoy it just as much as I have. So it's understanding that audience. Because when I first got into this business, that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, was I wrote a fitness book for everyone. Yeah. And you're probably good. That's not possible, Dale. Oh yeah. A friend brought it out of me. He says, who is this for? And I'm like, everybody? He goes, okay. Takes his glasses off. He looks at me and he says very seriously, you mean to tell me you're going to give the same exercise advice to a teenager that you would give to an older adult? And I was like, you had me dead to rights on that one. So
Yeah.
understand who your audience is before you set those expectations of, I'm going to sell X amount of books. Because if you don't know your audience and what they want, nothing you're going to present to them is going to sell it all. So understand that audience. Now, there's three other like core competencies that people need to follow along with. Three of those things, two of them, we're going to start it off right off, is your cover. Your cover design needs to communicate the genre from what it's in, and it also needs to grab the attention of that reader that you're trying to reach. A good cover doesn't necessarily mean, oh gosh, let's say, for instance, I've got a great fitness book. Actually, let me use a personal story here for you. Back in 2015, 2016, when I was just getting into the business, I had a cover design done for one of my fitness books. And, it's what you would expect. There was a Jack dude on the cover, black cover. It's got green lettering, and it looked pretty nice. And it sold a lot. I only paid like $5 for it over in Fiverr back in the day. But at any rate, it was selling really well, and it started just dropping off. And me, in my infinite wisdom back then, said, you know what? We got to change the cover. We got to change the cover, so I'm going to do that this time. Because who better for this than anything? So I busted open GIMP. I spent several hours. When I mean several hours, we're talking like 12 hours plus. Like,
Okay.
working on this cover design. Now, the cover design, it looked like a comic book cover because I'm a big comic book nerd. And I
Okay.
thought, oh, people are going to dig this. And even friends and family over Facebook, they were just like, that cover's really cool. You made that? And I was like, yeah, I did. And I published that cover, and sales went to nothing. It went to zero. And I let it ride for about a month, and I probably got a smattering of sales here and there. Now, here's the funny thing. When I realized, I was like, okay, you're not a cover designer, Dale, stop it. I put the original cover design back on Shoot Straight Up. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I literally just shot myself in the foot. I could have just continued to have those same sales, even though it was a diminishing amount, It was way better than nothing. So know what your audience expects from your genre. That's going to be the most important thing. Now, the other two aspects, and I'm sorry, Natasha, this is one of those questions I always love answering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the other thing is going to be your description. Your description needs to be so much more than a summary. It needs to be doing something that's called copywriting, which is essentially the art of writing for the purposes of a sale. So I'm not sitting here thinking about my fiction book, telling every last little person's name, first name, last name, their background, things like that. No, give us those pain points. What is going to attract me to come over and read your book, read your fiction book, read your nonfiction book? Because that's going to be the most important thing. This is something that a lot of people, I think, take very lightly. You don't write your description the same way you wrote your inside of your book. That's not the way you do it.
Okay.
So, and if you don't know how to do proper copywriting, good copywriters, sure, they're going to cost a pretty penny, but you will most likely pick up some of the things that they do in writing your first description. And then you can go, oh, let me go ahead and capture this, 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 and this, and let me see if I can duplicate it for this other book here. And that's something that had helped me out, was because I could go in copywriters and I'm like, here, could you write this up? Okay, great. And then I would tweak and it would keep improving and improving. All right, so there is the cover, we said. We said the description. And then last but not least is for discoverability, you need to have the exact words that your audience is typing into search engine algorithms, and today as well, through artificial intelligence. So you need to be putting in keyword phrases that your ideal reader is going to be typing in to discover you. And you're going to put those keywords into your title, subtitle, description, series name. You can put it into your editorial review section, any of those things. Just be tasteful about it. Nobody likes to see like an entire paragraph of nothing but keywords, Put them in tastefully, organically, make it like a conversation. Unlike what I've been doing here, dominating most of the chat.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I just try to tell people is you want to sell more books, look at your foundation. Okay. Are you serving the right audience? Do you have a good cover design? What's your description like? And do you have the right keywords to become more discoverable?
Okay, so let's say I did all of that. Okay. So I built the foundation. So, and I'm a self-published author. What should I focus on? Amazon ads, community, social media, go on TikTok and do shoppable video. Like, what actually, and this is something I grapple with all the time. Like, I just
Yep.
published my children's book and my first children's book, and most of the sales have been coming from word of mouth on social media. Um,
Yeah.
and let's say I put it on Facebook, so my immediate family, and plus like social media as well from my followers. I experimented with Amazon ads for my previous books, but I don't think I had the foundation correctly, like the keywords and stuff. So maybe that's why I did not have the success that I wanted. But let's do this as like a case study live. Okay, I have this children's book. It's a multicultural theme for kids about healthy eating. How can I sell it? The foundation is solid. What shall I do next?
To me, I feel like if you've got a children's book, you should be looking at your local community.
Yeah.
That is going to be your local libraries. You
Mm.
can look at your local schools. There's going to be some associations that you can probably reach out to, like the local YMCAs. Just try to figure out. Library would be the one place, Natasha, I would tell you to go first. Just because right now, off the top of my head, I am 1000% certain libraries are looking for authors that are going to run events. Like,
Yeah.
just go in there and be like, hey, I'm a children's book author. I'd love to come on in here and host a read along.
Yeah.
I've got a book and I will donate those books to you after it's done. Someone says no, good, move on. There's so many libraries in the world. You can go ahead and just tap into all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I would suggest for you, definitely look at your local community. And this could go just about anybody that's watching this, whether you're a children's book author or a nonfiction author or the like. The local community can be the difference maker. But the reason why I point you towards that direction is because children's books are a little tougher to navigate. My normal advice of building an email list is a lot more difficult through a children's book because obviously people that are buying the children's book are probably parents and will want to market to the parents. But in a lot of instances, the parents probably just buy the book and hand it over to their kid. So You don't want the kids to subscribe to your email newsletter. I mean, depends on your age group.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so it's just reaching out to that local community makes a huge, huge difference. And it's going to seem real unnerving at first, especially if you've not broken ground and introduced yourself to anybody in the community. But I could say this with confidence because I know she's watching right now and I know she's going to start blushing. But Susan Montgomery, she's an indie author out of Bowling Green, Ohio. And she has created so much buzz for her author name inside the community. She's been featured in radio station interviews. She's been featured in PBS interviews. She's been featured in local meetups. Heck, she even helped out a local cat cafe that, served drinks and had cats there, which is super cool. Yeah, she got out there and it didn't cost her a dime. And I will tell you this, Susan would be the first person to tell you she's introverted. Like, that's not her game. But she found that she really enjoyed it and she embraced those types of things. So I would say just step outside your comfort zone, find something local. Now, at what point do we say, should we start pouring money into things like Amazon ads?
Yeah.
Don't pour any money into it if you don't know what you're doing. Okay? Just say that right now. If you don't know what you're doing, you just open up Amazon ads for the first time or you open up Facebook ads. Any type of paid promotion like that, where you're doing pay per click, learn it first. Don't learn it as you go unless you got the discretionary expense. I am very fortunate. I've had discretionary expense over the last several years, so I can be able to dabble and play around with that. But for new authors that don't have that discretionary expense, I would not recommend just throwing money in there. Amazon ads, I would say, they're very, very effective, but they can be very difficult to navigate. Start with Amazon Advertising Academy. It's 100% free. You can get it through your dashboard on Amazon Advertising. You look in the top right-hand corner, there's a question mark with a circle around it. Click that. There will be a drop down. It's going to show you all the different videos and things like that they offer. Or I think it's advertising.amazon.com/academy. I don't know. I remember random sites like that, but go through the Academy. They have a number of courses. I would recommend start with sponsored product ads. Go through, learn that. I am going to tell you, I've taken paid courses and I've done free courses. Amazon Advertising's Academy, by far the best. That's one, it's free. And two, it's very comprehensive because when you don't understand one aspect, chances are they're going to have another course that you can plug into. And the beautiful part about this is when I went through a number of these courses that weren't even related to selling books, I started understanding Amazon's ecosystem a lot better because it started to tell me things that are very beneficial to you. Things like, for instance, did you know that to be considered retail ready, your product should have 15 reviews of an average star rating of 3.5 stars or greater? Retail ready meaning until you have poured enough, got enough sales and enough reviews on here, you probably shouldn't pour more money into the ads. So get it up to retail ready. That's what they recommend. Me personally, I say just start, but don't do it without first knowing what you're handling and start really low. Really low. Like even if you've got, let's say, $1,000 for the next month, $1 a day, start it out, play around with it. A lot of people are going, oh, you put $1 a day. What are you going to make with that? You're going to learn. You're going to get a lot of that data that's going to come back. And you're going to start to study those things through the search terms. You're going to see the reports. You're going to see the return on ad spend. You're going to see so many things. And it's going to help you understand a new language. And that's essentially what it is. It's understanding this new language and trying to navigate this a little bit better. And as you start to feel more comfortable, then you can start to go, okay, let's go ahead and put a zero behind that one. We're going to do $10 per day. And let's go ahead and see how that goes. And you just keep on stacking on those victories. But I would say is don't ever put money into a pay-per-click ad campaign of Amazon ads or Facebook ads or BookBub ads until you fully understand it. Because I've seen so many authors that have just come to me, just completely wrecked. Because they're like, I had a mother-son duo that had they had put their daily budget at $1,000 per day. Their cost per click was at $1. They had $3,000 that were burned through in 3 days. 3 days. They shut it off. They sold 12 books for $3,000. And by the way, I'm not sure if anybody knows out there, but yeah, that many books doesn't quite cover the $3,000. And the biggest mistake was They thought to themselves, let me watch a couple of videos and I'll figure it out on my own. No. Don't ever start at $1,000 per day. That's going to be my first thing. Unless you have that kind of money to burn through, never spend that much. So,
Hmm. Okay. So there is, and I read that many times, that and you talk about like self-published authors can, if they do the right thing, sell more than traditional authors. What is so they figured out the foundation, they figured out Amazon ads. What is the things that they must do in order to reach that goal of selling and maybe eventually like living off your books if that's even a thing? What is like okay, we talked about children's book. Okay, so I have other books. Let's say I have two fiction books.
okay.
Um, and what is the number one thing that they should do to reach that target?
The common denominator that I see with a lot of successful authors and the ones that I have interviewed and interacted with over the years is an email list. Email marketing is an absolute must. And this is this is the hill I'll die on. You don't need a website. You don't need social media as long as you have an email marketing plan of some sort, that you're having some type of a list that you're building and growing. Because what you're doing is you're bringing in your audience and retaining them. You're taking them off of places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo and bringing them into your ecosystem. Now, it's not enough that you just build the email list alone. Now you need to start to work with other people within your niche because they're going to have email lists. The rising tide raises all boats. Work with people within your niche. Again, it's going to seem unnerving, especially if you don't know anybody in your niche. Find them because it's going to make life a lot easier. Instances like Story Origin or Book Funnel, great services, by the way. Highly recommend both of them. They're fantastic. They have two features in them that are called a newsletter swap and a group promo. Newsletter swap is where, let's say, for instance, Natasha, you and I, let's pretend we're both fitness authors. I've got my email list of, fitness-related subscribers, and you've got yours. And I've got a deal coming out on my book, let's say next month, but yours is next week. I'll go ahead and share your deal for next week in my email newsletter. When my deal comes up next month, you will share my deal at that time.
Mm.
So that newsletter swap makes things easy. You're not having to give away email addresses. You're not doing any of that. All you're doing, it's kind of like a quid pro quo. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And it really helps grow your list and increase sales as well, because you're starting to overlap a lot of that audience and bring them into your area and start to grow even more. So I see a lot of just very successful authors that are really leaning into things like an email list and newsletter swaps. But there's the group promos that I briefly mentioned. And group promos are essentially like a newsletter swap on steroids. They get a bunch of authors that work together, collaborate on reaching all of their respective email lists for deals that they have on their books.
Mm.
And the rising tide, again, raises all boats.
And it's called what again? Book promo?
So that is called a group promo. That's called a group promo. So,
and where would you find that? Where would you find these authors and where?
You can arrange group promos on your own if you wanted to, but there's software, like for instance, Story Origin is one of them. The software, I think they're like $10 per month or $100 per year.
It's called what? Sorry?
Story Origin.
Okay.
So like an origin of a story.
Okay.
Story Origin's fantastic. Love it. I've been using them since day one. They have a marketplace of authors that are always looking for newsletter swaps and group promos. Will you be a perfect fit for everybody? Probably not, but you will find some gems that you could be able to connect with, and that will at least get you started. Shout out to Tanisha. She actually just dropped in the StoryOriginApp.com. Yes. Big shout out to Evan Gow over at Story Origins. Fantastic guy.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about my failure because I love talking about failure. Actually, I don't call it failure. I call it collecting data. That's my mindset.
Yeah.
So the other day, I have a newsletter of around 3,000 people. And
Nice.
I have Substack and I have Kit, right?
Nice.
So, Substack, I did not put that on Substack. I put it on Kit because I don't want to like annoy people. So I decided I want to advertise my children's book, right? And I did not want to say buy my book, buy my book. All I said is what I learned from publishing my first children's book. So I talked about the importance of typesetting, for example. I tried to do typesetting myself. It was a disaster. I had to hire a typesetter, the importance of the hiring an illustrator, all of that. And then, of course, I put a plug at the end about my book. And I sent it to the 3,000 people. And then through Kit, after 2 days, I resent to the people who I did not open. How many books did I sell from that?
Oh, just based on the way you asked that, the facial
Zero.
expression, I'm thinking zero. I was going to
Zero.
guess.
So what in the world did I do wrong?
Unless I looked at the copy and the approach that you did, it's kind of hard to say. And especially like the emails that were leading up to that email and the emails that followed up with that one. This is my personal preference when it comes to email marketing. If somebody doesn't open their email the first time, I don't send it again. That's just me. I'm like, you don't open it? Too bad, you missed it. My thought is, what I put out, it's VIP stuff. If you don't have the time to open that up and read it, fine. But personal opinion on this one, because I'm sure there's going to be some email marketers that will be like, you are so wrong, Dale.
Yeah.
That's my
They
personal
say
preference.
like, no, people are too busy. If you send them a reminder, they won't even notice the first email, which is actually even me. I'm sure like I'm subscribed to your newsletter. I don't even remember. Sorry. I don't even remember.
Might be.
I can barely keep up with anything. I mean, I have 3
It's
kids
true.
and I'm barely making it. Um, okay. So so you think it might be the copy. Okay. So
It could be. Yeah, it could be. I wish I could tell you that there's some magical way to do that, but I don't know the relationship that you have built with your audience. I know how I could back into it. And for me, if I'm looking for a sale of a specific book, I would rather build out an automation sequence that would like value, pitch. So in other words, I've delivered so much value that when I go for that ask, that it's going to be like, they're going to be like, oh, of course I'm going to buy this. This makes no sense why I wouldn't. One of my sequences, I do it exactly like that, where I teach, and then on the third one, I'm like, hey, by the way, I've got a full workbook for something like this. Boom. Now, does it convert every time? No. But the beauty is, it's a direct sale, and I pocket most of that money. So kind of like that.
okay. So okay, for you personally, what was the best thing that you did that was the highest ROI that created the highest sales?
Mm. I would be remiss and I would be dishonest if I didn't tell you Amazon advertising. Amazon ads pulls in a fair amount of sales, but if I were to think here outside of Amazon ads, I mean, I would say YouTube. YouTube would definitely be second, because as soon as I can just publish a video that delivers, again, value around that specific publication, and then when I go for the ask, real quick, in and out, and then boom, for whatever reason, does really well. So if I got a 10-minute video, let's say, I want to promote my book, Reviews for Books, we'll say. I want to promote that one. So I'm going to do a video like 25 reasons your reviews keep getting rejected. Boom. Some people are going, oh, I've had my reviews rejected. Time to go take some notes. I would go into the video, deliver value maybe a couple minutes, 2 to 3 minutes in, and then I will take about 15 to 30 seconds real quick. And hey, by the way, if you guys are really enjoying what you're seeing right now, I put all this together in a book called Reviews for Books. I cover everything from XYZ, blah, blah, blah. For more information, you can go ahead and find my book at every major retailer and in libraries, something like that.
Okay. So the ask is in the video, not in the description.
You can put it in description as well. In fact, I highly recommend it. You can do it in the description. You can, if you've been monetized on YouTube, you can also put it in your end screen, you can put it in your cards, and you can put it inside your pinned comment. So there are so many opportunities that you can put it in there. And by the way, this is something that's relatively new on YouTube. If you are fully monetized in the YouTube Partner Program, they now have an affiliate program. And if you are published wide, meaning that you've got your book everywhere possible, you'll be able to find the print books through places like Target, Walmart, and all those types of things, Barnes & Noble as well. And it will actually tag that inside the video, so then people can actually buy your book from within the video itself.
But like, so TikTok video now, TikTok, and experimented with it once.
How was it?
It was actually, so what I did, I'm gonna do this again with this, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. Maybe I'll actually no, maybe I'll do a YouTube video about it because
There you
I'm
go.
trying to get monetized, and it's another failure, but it's okay. I love talking about failures. But so what I did with the Karma Unleashed, one of my books, is I just read. Okay, so I created a shop on TikTok and I put that book. I need to put the other books, but I was just playing around. And I took the book and I read the first two paragraphs and I said, oh, by the way, you can get that book from the video. And
There you
somebody
go.
said, I love it. I just bought it. And I was like, what? Like, my mind was blown. And I was like, what kind of sorcery was that? Like, it happened so quickly, so fast. The other thing that I saw another YouTube video, maybe one of your competitors, I don't know, I forgot his name, but what he mentioned is that TikTok now they have an affiliate programs. So I went to all some of the book talkers who are in the affiliate program. I mailed them a copy of my book, and they actually promoted it as a shoppable video, uh,
Nice.
but it did not work. they did.
Ah,
They
shoot.
sold
Worth
zero.
a shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exposure is exposure, right?
Yeah, so I thought maybe it's too niche, whatever, but
Yeah.
I I felt people get more excited about children's book, honestly, from my experience. And I'm gonna try that with TikTok, and I am going to report back. But yeah, it's interesting what you said about. Okay, another thing you mentioned
Mhm,
is being at Barnes and Noble and blah blah blah. Okay,
mhm.
so I put my book on Ingram Sparks. That's like kind of the first because it's like they're the for people who don't know what Ingram Spark is. I mean, correct me if I'm mistaken. I refer to them as the distributor for self-published authors.
Good, you're close. It's an aggregate publisher. They reach over 40,000 libraries, institutions, retailers, and whatnot throughout the world. They're one of the biggest distributors of book publications today, especially for
Okay.
indie authors.
Okay. So I go on Ingram's back and I put it there and I have the link. What am I supposed to do now? Okay, I have my book on it. Like what? Email Barnes and Noble. Hey, my book is on Ingram Spark. Like I don't know. I didn't know what to do with Ingram Sparks at this point.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue and one of my biggest complaints about Ingram Spark. Yeah, they're reaching that many like different retailers and libraries and such like that, but they won't give you an itemized list. They will give you a basic list if you go on their website where they'll show things like Walmart, Target, things like that. But you won't learn about any like the small indie bookstores. Ingram Spark is great. I won't take anything away from them. I continue to use them and I love them. But what you're saying is, how do I market and promote this?
But
If you're looking at a specific avenue, like say Barnes and Noble, Barnes and Noble actually has a frequently asked questions page. If you want to get your books into the stores, there's an actual contact. My apologies, you're going to have to probably Google this up because I
okay,
just don't have this right off the top of my head. But you'll look up. It will probably be hosted by Barnes and Noble Press. And on Barnes and Noble Press's site, which is the direct publishing option for Barnes and Noble, they will tell you, and it's like some email, and you've got to give them certain details about your publication and whatnot. But also, I've heard of many authors that just straight up walk into a Barnes and Noble, introduce themselves to the manager, and say, "Hey, I'm a local indie author. Just kind of want to talk to you about stocking one of my books here on your shelf. Maybe do an author appearance, or we can even work out a consignment deal of some sort." It's just going in and having just the guts to go right up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm an indie author. I'm local here." That's the important thing. Remember, if you're local, say you're a local indie author because they're going to run with somebody who's local versus somebody who's like, I don't know, you're in Detroit and you're actually based out of Los Angeles. They're probably going to, I don't know about this guy, but you're going to need to speak to those individual stores. But I started kind of going on this little rabbit trail here. You were getting ready to ask something. My apology.
well, my question is, Ingram Spark is they're not gonna sell the book for you.
No, they don't.
They're just
No.
gonna create like a shop that people can come and buy from that shop and they get a cut and you put it there for free. So how do I, like, I know they offer advertising or whatever, but you're saying to use Ingram Spark effectively. I have still, in addition to uploading the book, I still have to go and contact all these people, and they say, "Hey, you can buy it from here," because they're not gonna buy from Amazon. It's just a lot
Right.
of work.
It is. I wish there was a simple way of doing things. And this is a conversation I've had numerous times over on my Discord community where there's some people that are like, they'll say, Ingram Spark doesn't sell books anymore. They're no
Exactly.
longer good for me. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. When you're going through platforms like KDP, Ingram Spark, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple, it is not their responsibility to sell your books. All they're doing is providing you with that doorway to get into their website and put that stuff there. They will confidently get behind your book, though, should you bring enough of an audience to justify them recommending it to their actual audience themselves, from their buyers on Amazon, on Apple, on these Kobo sites. So when someone says to me, I published my book through KDP, or I've published my book through Ingram Spark, but they don't get me any sales. What would you do for promoting? I posted on social media. No, you can't just simply this is like Field of Dreams. You can't just build it and they'll come. You have to be the biggest cheerleader of anybody for your brand, because if you aren't, who is? I mean, unless you got an agent of some sort or you got a publicist. But beyond that, you're going to need to put in those reps. I know it's hard because there's some people that are just like, I just want to publish it over here. I saw back in 2010 to 2015, people were making money hand and fist. That's right, because ebooks were relatively new. Right around 2008 was when KDP had launched. They had the Kindle. They brought the KDP along with that, and here we are. But now readers have expectations, and they have increased so much more exponentially. And so if you're not keeping up with those readers, guess what? You're going to be lost. So, yeah, you can't just publish just about anything. And let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. AI. AI has just exploded over the last few years. I know, Captain Obvious here. But the thing is, that just raised competition up so much more. Because now we're not just competing against authors writing content. We're competing against publishers putting out content that is AI generated. Now, I'm not going to say whether that's good or bad. That's completely up to you. But I'm going to say from a neutral standpoint at this point, AI is dominating the conversation. People like Tim Ferriss is like, AI has literally like cut his earnings in half. This is a guy that was pulling in lots of sales. And
I
he's like,
saw that. Yeah, I saw that. What was he like? I skimmed through it. He's saying that people are not buying books because they're getting material from AI. Is that what he's saying?
essentially, a lot of nonfiction is getting gutted. This is his theory. A lot of nonfiction is getting gutted because of the information being freely accessible through things like ChatGPT or Claude or so on and so forth. Any type of AI. That's not necessarily the belief that I hold, but here we are.
I mean, I don't believe that because a reader is always a reader. And if you're a reader, you want to read it in a book. You're not going to just keep somebody who just wants like some information. They're just going to get it and move on. But these people are not readers in the first place. They're not going to buy your book in the first place. That's my theory.
Yep.
Because you're a reader for life. And
Yep.
I think these are the people that you want to target. Okay. I
Yep.
want to talk about an urban legend and tell me if that's an urban legend,
Okay. All
which
ears.
is people can sustain themselves and their family by being self-published authors fully. They might have like consulting here, speaking engagement, blah blah blah. But is that reality or is that an urban legend?
Unfortunately, a vast majority of the people that are self-published authors really don't make enough to make a part-time living. And I know if you're the type of person, you're watching this and you're going, Dale, I'm doing great. That's fantastic. I am too. That's great. But kind of the exception to the rule, because there's a lot of authors out there that aren't pulling that in. And what I would recommend is don't do what Dale did. You're talking about your failures and setbacks. Let me go ahead and share mine. This is great because when I got into this business back in 2014, the year prior, I was just challenged by a corporate wellness coach. She's like, you love fitness so much, you should write a book. And I was like, I will. 1 year later, I wrote that book and I self-published it. And I made $20 and some odd cents. And yeah, I literally thought I was like a shark. And I could taste the blood. I was like, yeah, all right, this is it. I literally put in my 30-day notice for my good job Loved my job back then. I don't miss it. This is great too. But I went ahead and said, I'm going to become a full-time author. So I'm going to make a lot of money. 2 years was just absolute worst. Worst. If I had to do it over again, I most likely would have stayed in my job and continued to ramp up that income so it could support me. But the vast majority of folks that are going to try to do something like what I did are going to probably have the same results that I had, maybe even worse. I've known of some authors that have been trying to break into this business for as long as I've been in, sometimes longer. It's like, a decade or more. And it's a sad situation. But what I would recommend, if you ever find yourself in that position, reach out to other authors. Talk. Indie authors, talk with each other. Like, open up a conversation. We're not competitors. We're collaborators. Work with each other. Because you don't have to go through situations of like, well, all I've got is this self-publishing business to pay the bills. I hope it works.
So are you saying that after you went, let's say, through hell for 2 years, and you did not have like a recurring income, like maybe you just depended on savings or whatever, you reached a point where you actually survived from billing, just selling books, and not only survival, but like a decent lifestyle for you and your family.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the end goal for all of us who, I mean, in addition to being creative, but at the end of the day, we have, bills to pay, family to feed, whatever. So
Yeah.
are you saying that you actually reached that point after like going through hell for 2 years?
It's possible, but I don't want to mislead anybody to believing that my story is going to be their story. I think there's often a lot of times where you see
What
a lot of
is what is your story? If you tell the people who are watching quickly.
just filled you in.
What?
I literally just told you the story, the fitness book that that I had
Yeah.
published, and literally $20, and then for the first two years, it was horrible. It was terrible.
But then
My
what happened after I like the story is what happened after those 2
What happened? Okay, so the breakthrough came around, let's see here. So I broke into the business early 2014, and I would say it was December of 2015 that I was just at that turning point. I was working with a self-publishing coach I'd met through YouTube, and he was fantastic, no longer in the business now. But he said, just do what I tell you to do. He's like, don't do any shortcuts, and you'll get there. 6 months. He's like, but you got to listen to me. You got to do everything. And I followed it to the T. It was everything from building the email list to putting up more publications, setting up some perma-free books, things like that. He was right. January of 2016 was when things just went, it clicked. And it was so surprising for me because I was just like, I kept working. I wasn't seeing anything. And then January, I had just released a book somewhere before Christmas. For whatever reason in January, early January, well, it's fitness. So people are going after their New Year's resolutions and they end up buying that book. And so a lot of the processes that he put in place made it to where that book was much more discoverable, and we sold so much more right out the gate, and we're consistently selling. And by the way, that same book was the one that I did the cover experiment on.
Okay.
And so I ended up screwing myself over. But there was a lot of moving parts. I would say I'd need to take almost an entire hour just talking about the whole strategy that I ended up doing that led up to that point. Because it was 6 months, I will tell you, there were 12 to 16-hour workdays where I was just, all I was doing was writing. Right. Oh, time to edit. It was, morning, noon, and night. And will I ever do that again? No. And that's one of the reasons why I say my story is very unique to me, because someone else could have probably done it with way less work, or someone else probably would need more work than what I did. So that's why I see so many videos out there of these, I made $30,000 by farting on a piece of paper and launching it on Amazon. Shut up. There's a lot of people, don't get swept up in the hype. If you feel inspired by it, if you feel motivated by it, run with that. That's totally fine. But you need to set realistic expectations that your story, not just your book, I'm talking, your story, your personal story is going to be way different than mine. And it's going to be way different from Natasha's.
That's true. Are you still writing books?
I am, yes. Actually, I just officially stopped writing nonfiction last year. I had finished up the full self-publishing with Dale series, had launched it on Kickstarter. It got fully backed, super happy. And those books, the final 3 books that were funded by Kickstarter, launch tomorrow. So they're going to be across all of the major online retailers. And right now, in the background, I've been working on fiction. So I'm going to be pivoting hard into fiction because it's something I've always wanted to do since I was a boy. Yes, I love writing. I love writing. I love reading. If that's all I could do all day long, it's what I'd do.
So what is the number one thing you're going to do for promoting these fiction books?
Building email list. That actually is the top of my priorities.
Well, you already have an email list. So what are you doing?
Good point. But different audience, different expectations. You don't want to just take this email list that you've built on people where they're saying, ooh, Dale's going to tell me all the greatest self-publishing tips about writing, editing, and all that type of stuff. And then magically I start going, come check out my sci-fi horror book. It's got a lot of blood and cursing in it. Yeah, there's not a mismatch. And so that's one thing I would say for multi-genre authors, be very careful. Separate it. If you are multi-genre, build 2 different email lists for those genres, because otherwise, let's say if I were to use my self-publishing email list or my fitness list, the problem is someone could probably be showing up for push-ups and pull-ups, and here I am talking about how these creatures came down from outer space and took over the world. It doesn't quite, you're going to probably tick off a few subscribers. So yeah, I'm having to start from scratch. And a lot of that strategy is going to come down to, first of all, right now I'm working on the lead magnet, which is essentially a bribe that I bring people into my email subscriber. I'm going to do some subscriber giveaways through places like Written Word Media and Crave Books. Just a heads up, going to set some expectations. If anybody's listening to this and going, I'm going to go try a subscriber giveaway today, just to let you know, there's a lot of churn. There's a lot of drop off.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, great. So you're gonna build a different audience through a lead magnet for people who let's say like horror, and you're gonna tag those people, like let's say you're using Kit or whatever, you're gonna tag them with like horror, and then you would send newsletter just to those tag people.
Boom.
Got it.
That's it exactly. You want to make sure that you're segmenting that audience and separating them out, so that way you're not creating fatigue with people who are expecting certain things from you.
Great. I know we both have to go, so I'm just gonna do a big shout out to the people here. Thank you everyone who participated. Susan says hello from steamy Northwest Ohio. Chris say, I would suggest you focus on selling your programs. I don't know what programs, like coaching and stuff. And then Susan says, I also write picture books and do well locally. Plus, I write about local topics. Chris, get local with children books, read it, host event, invite to your program. Then, I love to be in my cave, Susan. Chris saying, add without discretionary expense money, without a program or offer that exists beyond that book. Learning is earning. Email marketing is a must. There's a lot of comments. You're very popular, Dale.
Hey, all right.
Kevin Hall say, Dale, had you not quit your job back then, would you have put in that effort you needed to in order to be where you are now? I think
that is so true. That's more. I know Kevin by now. It's a rhetorical question. And
I think
probably
in
right.
the long run, you made the right decision.
Yeah, there was a lot of desperation, I'll tell you, though, because there were some times where I was even afraid we wouldn't even have food for the day. That's how bad it got.
Yeah. And then Tanisha said, I forgot segmentation. I fought segmentation for so long, but it was amazing when I finally did it. Please do yourself a favor and segment. Great. So Dale, thank you so much. This was amazing. I feel like I just got a mastermind for free, and everyone too. So how can people reach out to you, follow you? This is your time for a shameless plug. So go ahead.
We're already in Substack, so it only makes sense we find it on Substack here, selfpub.substack.com. Think like self-publishing, but selfpub.substack.com. And you can always look up Dale L. Roberts over on YouTube. You'll find over 2,000 videos. That's not an exaggeration. There's over 2,000 videos.
How is Substack working for you, by the way?
Substack's been really good. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, actually, I started migrating some of my video courses over here for my paid members. And it's going really, really well. I didn't start taking it seriously until I'd say the last year. I freaking love it. like, and this is fantastic. This is the third live I've done co-hosted along, so this is kind of cool.
This is great. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm sure everyone benefited a great deal from this. I'm gonna like do a summary of this and send it as well to my subscribers. And it's also a podcast, so it will go on a number of places, including YouTube. And if you tag me on YouTube, man, that would be because now YouTube allows you to tag, right?
Yeah, you can send a collaboration. So go ahead and send it over to the Self Publishing with Dale podcast. So when you go in there, just hit that collaboration, and I'll go ahead and accept.
See, I already followed your advice. Collaboration. Anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you on YouTube, on Substack. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck. And we're gonna keep collaborating, you and me. We'll I'll drop you an email, and we continue the conversation.
Thank you so much for your time today, Natasha.
Thank you. Take care. See you. Bye bye. Thanks for everyone who joined us. Bye bye. Bye. Yalla.